Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you had a good lunch. I hope you're having a good lunch. Right on. Enjoy. I hear that soup is incredible today, huh? Oh, okay. No comment. Oh, okay. Perfect. I heard that. I heard that. I'm just going to make sure this phone is turned off. All the dings and dongs are turned off. Dings and dongs. We got a few people from the hotel here with us. Let's give them a round of applause, guys. Come on, let's go. They've been amazing. I ran into David outside, and David says, from the venue, David says, "Oh, we're just doing our best here." I'm like, "No, you're not doing your best. You're at your best." So we're so thankful. And yes, so we have one more panel this afternoon. One more panel here this afternoon, and then we're going to get you on your way. We're so thankful that you're spending the time with us. And I understand people need to travel. They need to go home. I get it. But you decide to stay. And when we start with ceremony, it's always great to end with ceremony. So we're thankful that you're with us. And if you do need to skip out because you do need to hit the road, I get it. There's people that love you and want you home. We wish you a safe journey home. If you're not leaving until tomorrow, we invite you to stay to the end so our friends, Manitou Makwa, can send you back in a good way. Okay? Alrighty. So we have a wonderful, wonderful panel. And this panel brings together voices from across generations, youth, knowledge keepers, and 2S LGBTQIA PD+ members will share their unique reflections and perspectives on what healing, identity, and wellness means in their lives today. Our knowledge keepers bring wisdom and live teachings that have been passed down through generations. Our youth carry the vision of hope, the energy and motivation to create new pathways. And our 2S LGBTQIA PD+ relatives carry strength, truth, and the courage to live authentically in the face of oppressive systems. This conversation is about working together, walking together, and making room for all voices in the circle reminds us that healing doesn't happen one way or in one generation. It flows across generations, across identities, and through our relationships to one another. When we create space for everyone, listen without judgment, and honor every part of who we are, we all become stronger for it. I'd like now to sincerely, and wholeheartedly welcome all of our panelists on stage now. Hi, Terry. I see 5 chairs and 4 panelists. Is there a 5th panelist coming up on stage? You don't think so, eh? Okay. Well, you know what? We're going to, I'll just move one chair off just so it looks good. Let me just put this over here. Thank you, Angela. Oh, you're wonderful. Here, I'll give somebody a microphone here. You may have to share this apron, okay? With Barney. Panelists, good afternoon. Here we are. This is wonderful. I feel as if everything's been a practice up to this point, so we're going to do this, and we're going to do this awesome. I'm super excited to share the stage with you. Before we start with the first question, let's have some basic introductions, panelists. And we'll start from here, we'll go all the way down, and then we'll start with the first question. So let's do some introductions first. Tell us who you are.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Terry Fiddler. My given name is Teresa. I come from Sandy Lake First Nation, but I'm originally a Treaty 3 member. I was raised in Big Grass Sea and later on in Shoal Lake 40, where my dad was from. I'm 74 years old. I have 20 grandchildren. I have 21 great-grandchildren. My helper that came with me is my oldest daughter, Marcy. And I have 2 sons and another daughter, a younger daughter. And my youngest grandchild is a year old yesterday. I think it was yesterday she was a year old. That's my youngest granddaughter. Her name is Khaleesi. And when I live in Thunder Bay currently, but I do visit my home once a month. I'm one of the professional services they call us. I do traditional counseling in my home community in Sandy Lake once a month. And I'm happy to be doing that kind of work to provide the services that we need in our communities. I speak Ojibwe fluently. I speak Oji Cree. And my kids always tell me I speak Ojiberish. So thank you for being here, and I know that a lot of people have to go home. My daughter and I have to leave at 2. We have a flight to catch home to Thunder Bay. So, Chimiwech.
Chimiigwech, Terry, beautiful. Let's continue with our introductions. Moving over.
Susego sewa gwego, tehulunkia te yungia, swagani trono, dana ganikahaga, nene akwazosne ganagale. So, hi, my name is Abraham Francis. I'm Deer Clan in Mohawk from the community of Akwesasne. Born and raised. I've recently joined the Chiefs of Ontario's environment team, and it's been a really wonderful time. Really grateful to be here to join this conversation. I also sit on the Two-Spirit Council, part of Chiefs of Ontario, which has been a really eye-opening opportunity, and that's been work that's been really important to me. But I identify as an Indigenous ecologist, and so my practice of science, it involves my heart, it involves our culture and every piece of ourselves into how we understand our relationships across the world. And that has just come out of a lifetime of learning from my community, my elders, and everyone around me. So I'm really grateful to be in this space, to be able to support so many communities with this bit of knowledge that I've been able to cultivate over these years. So, yeah, what go?
Abraham, welcome. It's nice to meet you. My friend Barney, introduce yourself. Let everybody know again who you are, because everybody knows you.
Yeah, well, go ahead and introduce me. you know, it was really funny. Stan and I were sitting out in the open over here just a while ago, and a young lady came along. And while we were talking, and she looked at me and looked at Stan and says, she tells Stan, "Is this your dad?" And then Stan and I looked at each other. I don't think so.
Is there a story here? What's going on?
Anyway, it was really funny. But the funniest part, just looking at it, the way the question popped up was really, really funny because it was just out of the blue. And there's a kind of a resemblance, I guess, without the hat, maybe. But
We like to talk. I think that's the
I don't know.
resemblance.
We'll have to discuss that further.
At a Chiefs meeting 53 years ago.
But you know, it's just a wonderful way for people to introduce themselves with a little bit of humor, because that's always been part of our culture is humor, and it really breaks the ice, so to speak. But nevertheless, I do live just outside of North Bay in a little community in East Ferris Township, just Callander, and been there for a lot of years, 50 more years. And I moved there because of work years ago. No work on the res, so had to go out and find something. So we raised our family there. So I have 4 children, 3 boys and a girl, and numerous grandchildren. I've lost count. I have one grandson out there that's really busy. So I have a lot of grandchildren out there, so continue work. And I continue doing my work as a person, and you're the ones that recognize me as an elder or a knowledge keeper, and I try my best to fulfill that role, and I play that role at the Chiefs of Ontario and at the Assembly of First Nations and also at Anishinaabe. I come from, my home community is in Matachewan. It's the furthest, it's Madajuan is the way it's pronounced in our language, and the little town that we live in is called Musquadesing. It's Turtle Lake is a lake right in front of our community. It's a beautiful little community, wonderful place. And so that is my home, and my parents, look, I'm a product of that, the urbanization of Native people so long ago in the 40s, and we were not forced, but nearly, to move into the urban areas. So that's part of my life was that. But my life in Callander, just outside of North Bay right now, it's wonderful. It's where I live. It's where I do my work. And part of my work in my life was as a therapist at the North Bay Addiction Center, doing treatment, referrals, assessments, and that sort of thing. I did that for a number of years. That was the last piece of work as I know it. I'm actually a mechanic by trade, but I worked my way up into all these other areas. And so, but that was my last piece of work. Enjoyed it so much. But hey, look, I'm still here to tell the story, and it's a wonderful thing. I've lived 87 years so far, going pretty good and still counting, so that's great. And I'll tell you one thing about when you get a little bit older, you know, you wake up in the morning, and then you kind of move around, you look around, one eye open, am I still here? Then you open both eyes, yeah, another day.
Oh, man.
So basically, that's the way I carry on, and I just got to tell you that I enjoy being here. It's more than just me introducing myself. It's kind of like me being introduced to you, and you introduce yourself to me. I think that's probably the most important part. Anyway, I'm here, and we'll see where the rest of it goes. And I don't know if we're related or not. We're going to have to figure that out. We might be, you know.
We might have to donate a part of our hair to figure that out. Thanks, Barney. Let's go for Barney. Right there. Holy. Got a little personal there for a second between us, Barney. Let's move over. Our final panelist. Tell us a little bit about who you are.
I don't know if I could top that. Bonjour, Hani Nijagabo Nidishnika Zatik Ndora Mabashkoke Ndonji. My English name is Kieran Davis. I'm originally from Lac Seul, and I was born in the Tim Hortons bathroom in Sulakau. Not literally. There used to be a hospital there, and that's what I tell people when I meet them.
Holy. Wow.
I currently reside in Kenora, northwestern Ontario, and recently I was at Walmart and I was looking for water. And I guess there was a tourist who was in there also looking for a case of bottled water. And he was appalled at the price of $4 for a 24-pack of fresh water. I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, that's the priciest water I've ever seen. And I said to him, I was like, you gotta go north. And as I was scrolling Facebook the other day, I saw in the territories there, one of their water treatment centers was down. So their price of Dasani water went up to $155. And so I tried to explain that to this guy, and he just didn't believe me. He's like, I've been to Sault Ste. Marie, I've been north. And I just laughed at him. I was like, go to Fort Severn. Go, I'm telling you right now. And so he didn't buy the water. And I was like, you know, I happily pay $4 versus $155 for a 12-pack of Dasani water. So as I'm living in Kenora, I've been there about a year now, and I didn't go to school. I didn't go post-secondary, and sometimes I do deeply regret that. But I found a passion in the work that I do in emergency management, and I ran with it. I literally ran with it. As soon as I finished my last semester of high school, I took a 5-day course in first response, and I became a first responder in my community. And then the pandemic happened, and now I was a peacekeeper and I guess one of those security gate people. And I just loved it. Even in high school, I was helping with emergency management in evacuations for Pekanjikam, Bearskin Lake, Muskrat Dam, and I helped with Niskandaga. And I loved it so much. I kept taking every single course. That was like 2-day courses everywhere, and I ran with that education that I had and experience, and now I'm working my way up in that field. But I don't say to people, don't go to school. I tell people, find your passion and run with it. If I went to school for emergency management, I'd have to go straight into my master's, and then I don't really feel like I had a passion for any other undergrad. But I did buy a house last summer, and that's without my education. And I say that because I didn't really know any other 22-year-old who had that ability to make that big investment. You know, I own my own truck. I bought my own house with my partner, and you know, I'm still 23 years young, but it feels like I've lived a lifetime in all of my experiences. And I guess I'm here to talk about that today too. But I live in Kenora, downtown, busy, busy, busy. I don't like traffic. I get mad. So sometimes I walk, but then I get mad at walking. And I just really want an e-bike, you know, those little mopeds. That's what I want. Yeah, I lived in Silcote until last summer. And I've lived in Thunder Bay while my mom was in school. A lot of people know my mom here, and they'll tell me, I know your mom. I'm speaking to you right back there. And sometimes I'll go up to her, I know your kid. So it's kind of vice versa. And then the other day, I was actually asked if I was my sibling. And I was like, I've never been asked that before, because I've always been my mom's kid, Davis's kid, or my own person, or my dad's kid. I've never been mistaken as my sibling. We don't look alike, because they tell me I'm adopted. I'm not, but so yeah, that was pretty cool. I was like, I'm not Echo, what? But I'm really thankful that you have me here. I think I've overshared a little bit too much, but miigwech.
Not direct from a Tim Hortons bathroom. Not direct from a Tim Hortons bathroom. Okay, panelists. So I'm already having a lot of fun here with you. Holy. And we have only until 2:30. Again, this is something that we will probably talk all day about. So we have a big question to start off with. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep track, and I'll just kind of give you a wink or a little bit of a nudge at about 10 minutes, okay? Panelists, share a little bit about yourself, the path you've walked, and how your experiences has shaped the person, the beautiful person you are today. Who would like to go first? I'm not looking at any, but too much pressure. Terry, I think they're all looking at you.
What was that question again? Tell about myself.
Yeah,
and the path.
yourself, the path, and your
Okay.
experiences, how it shaped you.
Okay. Well, my spirit name is Shonya Kamegok. I belong to the Elk clan. My guardian angel is the turtle, and I'm midday, 1 degree, 1 doorway, and the path that I walked on since I left home when I was 14 to go to high school And I never went to residential school. Both of my parents went to residential school. My dad, my father went when he was 5 years old, and he never came out till he was 18. And my mother went to residential school for 2 years, but she never spoke a word of English. And she said that she only went to school 1 hour a day, and she was a seamstress at Cecilia Jeffrey Residential School in Kenora. My 3 sisters went, all my 3 sisters went to residential school, the same place, Cecilia Jeffrey. But for some reason, I never went, and I'm glad I didn't go. I stayed with my parents till I was 14, and I went to high school in Kenora. I met my husband. His name was Josiah Fiddler from Sandy Lake. And this morning, my husband was a great advocate for a lot of services during his lifetime. He passed away when he was 63. And this morning, I went to a workshop that was put on by SLIFNA. And I was sitting with my daughter, and I nudged her. They had a slide, a video slide there for their presentation. And a picture of my late husband came on the screen, well, with four other of his cousins. They're the 5 fasters that fasted in Solikaut Indian Hospital, they call it. They fasted for better health services. This was in 1988. It was a 2-day fast. All of them were diabetics. All of them had medical issues, but they still sat there, smoked their pipes, lit their medicines for 2 days for better health services. And out of it came what you see in Solikaut is the health authority, the hospital, the amalgamation of the 2 hospitals. That was from the fast. And but all of them are no longer with us in this world. They've all gone on their spirit journeys. But I wanted to acknowledge them this afternoon. That was Josiah Fiddler, my husband, his cousins, Peter Fiddler, Alan Meekus, Luke Mamakizek, and Peter Goodman. All of them fasted to bring us better health services. But I always say, when I go to meetings, at health transformation meetings, any kind of health meetings, I always remind people that those 5 fasters fast for better health services. Sometimes we go forward a little bit, but a lot of times we still step backwards. We need better health services for our people. So that's what I wanted to do is, and because of that, when I was 42 years old, I always regretted not finishing high school. I only went up to grade 11. So one day I decided to contact my old high school and ask for my transcripts. And I found out that I needed only 4 credits. We didn't go by credits in my day. And we only went by grades. And so I applied to finish my grade 12 because my youngest son, his name is Tushan, he was going to graduate from high school that year. And my oldest son, who also decided to go back to high school, was going to graduate that summer too. So I had 2 sons coming up to graduate high school, and I wanted to be there with them. So I applied to get my grade 12, and I got it at 42. And the graduation ceremonies were held in Sandy Lake. I walked down the podium with my two sons graduating to grade 12.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. And one more, I'll add a little bit more. When I did my grade 12, I decided at 59 I wanted to go back to school. So I applied for college. And I went back to Confederation College in Thunder Bay. I took the social service worker program for 2 years. And I graduated when I was 61. And I did that for my grandchildren. I wanted to be a role model for my grandchildren. I wanted them to experience something way beyond grade 12. So I graduated from it. I'm now a registered SSW working in a community, in my home community, which I'm very proud. Miigwech.
Miigwech. You know, Terry, I'm 52 years old. And I love getting old, right? I love getting old. And one of the reasons why I love getting old is that I have a lot of lived experience. And I love knowing that I'm able to remember ancestors. And I remember your late husband. And you mentioned that my husband was a great advocate. And I agree with you. But your husband was a great man. And the ones who know him miss him, I'm sure, every single day. So I just wanted to tell you that. I love him and I love you. So thank you so much. Abram, I guess we're going this way. Okay. Tell us, do you want me to repeat the question?
No, I think I can talk about what brought me here.
Go for it.
It's like a really hard place to start, right? Like when you think about what brought you to the life that you currently live. And something that really kind of resonates with me as a person was being a little kid at Lagozai Point in Ganadago in my community. When I would flip over rocks and I would just be amazed at the world that existed at the edge of the river. And, you know, became obsessed with the environment since that point. And I think it's been really interesting throughout my life and the various iterations and opportunities that have come my way. Because, you know, when I graduated from high school, and at that time, it was very much like the only path if you're a smart native student is to become a lawyer or to become a doctor. And so I was like, oh, well, I'm good at science, so I might as well become a doctor. And I went to school. I fought my way through school, which was like a really difficult thing. I almost flunked out my first semester. It was really, really hard. And, you know, something really critical about that time was my mother really helped me get through that. She called me up, and I was like really defeated by failing actually my first exam ever. And I was just sat there with that, and I was really frustrated, and I was like, I can't be here, I shouldn't be here, I don't belong here, everybody's too smart. I bit off more than I could chew. And she said to me, are you gonna let them beat you? And if you know anything about the Mohawks, tell us we can't do something and watch us act up. And so I spent the next 4 years of my life fighting and fighting and fighting to become a doctor. And, you know, what was really interesting to me was eventually I kind of gave up on that because I just seen the lifestyle that doctors live. And I really want kids, and I decided that that wasn't the life I wanted to live, and the types of medicine that were available that left you open with time were not that interesting to me. And so I started pursuing microbiology, and I fell in love with bacteria. I love that there is a whole universe that exists on the tip of your finger, and you can't even see it. Go wash your hands, if that makes any sense.
Don't leave. Hey, don't tell him to go.
But really why I became obsessed with it, because bacteria break down environmental contaminants. And I was like, we have PCBs in Akwesasne. I want to learn about bacteria that can break that down. And so I started pursuing that, and I kind of hit a wall, and it was because at that time the research just wasn't where it needed to be. And so I just kind of like moved on. And it's important because I'm not a person that's meant for a laboratory. I'm very much a people person. I'm not gonna go sit in a lab and just kind of grow bacteria for the rest of my life. And so after that, I moved home and I worked for the Mohawk Council of Akwesasne as a community health representative. And I was like, I'm gonna become a public health person. And that didn't quite work out. So I moved on, and that was when I found like the work around prevention work. And in particular, I worked on creating safe spaces for Two-Spirit people in my community. And that was really important work for me because I kept questioning, like, where were we? Why were we not around? What is it? Why is there just this gap in our community? And it really inspired me to start thinking about what this story could look like. You know, because I talked to knowledge keepers, I talked to people, and they told me that something was wrong with me. And that really, like, hurt me. Because you know what? All the teachings I have been given was that we all have a place here. We all have a special medicine that we bring to the community. And so I just kept fighting. And I kept learning, and I kept thinking about, where did that story go? And a big part of that to me came back to the fact that, you know, there's certain pieces of our community that we hid to protect. And I think that's what we did with Two-Spirit people. And Two-Spirit's just a broad term. It's not your specific term for your community. I think it's something that becomes really specific and comes with roles and responsibilities. But all of that to say that Catholicism did a number on our community. And we lost a piece of ourselves in that process. And I feel like I didn't have really any mentors to teach me through that. So being the sickening person I am, I went and I found mentors from all over the place that taught me about Two-Spirit people and the importance of that role. And it's continued to inspire me and in the work that I do. Because you know what? Queerness has a value within science. It has a value within Indigenous research. It allows us to see the world in spectrums, rather into these little neat boxes that you can place ideas and identities that then make it more easily to control. And that's a lesson I learned from one of my favorite mentors, Carol Warrior, that the goal of colonialism is to put people into these boxes so that they can control them, to fix them in place. And we are too brilliant of a people to be fixed like that. That's why they can't catch us, they can't control us. We are the Indian problem because we keep moving. We keep growing and changing. And so I continue to be inspired by that and drive the work that I do. And it's just opened up so many opportunities for me to learn about my culture, my language, about the environment in these really unique, nuanced ways. And I'm really grateful to then, you know, after all these times, and I get made fun of a lot because people are like, oh my God, there goes Abe getting another degree. Just love school, and I don't, I'll be honest with you. School's sickening. But it's about a means to an end. Because, you know what? They have all these doctors and people with PhDs that are defining what our future looks like, are telling us what our problems are. And I got tired of that because I'm like, why are your solutions not working for us? And a lot of that comes back to because these are not ideas and solutions that were generated by us as a people to actually address the underlying issues within our communities. The intergenerational trauma that we see manifested within our councils, within our various organizations, the lateral violence we experience. These are all that inheritance of that intergenerational trauma from a world that didn't want us here. But we're still here, and we're quite beautiful, if I do say so myself. And so just all of that to say, you know, that the journey that brought me here is so much more complex, and I'm constantly thinking about it. But has guided me is my family, my community, my people, my ancestors, my teachings, and to just trust my spirit that when something doesn't feel right, when something hurts me, when something is just, it doesn't sit with me, to call it into question and then spend time with it so I can understand why is it that it doesn't fit with me. And that's opened these really generative spaces for me to question why the world looks the way that it does. And it's opened up these opportunities so I can build a future for myself, for my family, for my people, where we can live in a healthy environment in a way that our people can care for this environment, which has been shown to be incredibly effective for thousands of years. And that's what I want to be a part of, because I don't want to constantly be fighting. I don't want my life to be measured by how hard I can work, how well I can take a punch, how many barriers I can overcome. I want my life to be measured by how gently I can walk through the world, how I brighten up a space, how I make people laugh, how I love and celebrate those around me. And that's really what I'm interested in the world, is that really soft, kind future where I can raise my fat-headed Mohawk babies just like my mom did. And so that's what brought me to this work, and I'm really grateful.
Oh, man. Come on. Come on. Your Mohawk headed babies. Everybody clapped and the Mohawks laughed. So they're really interesting there. And lots of drop the mic moments you had. So on behalf of the owner of the company, thanks for not dropping the mic. It's very expensive. But wow, just wow after wow after wow. What a beautiful panel. My goodness, Barney, take it away. Oh. I feel just awesome by association by sitting up here right now. Go ahead.
Yeah. You know, just to follow up on how I introduced myself at the beginning there, and you're saying, you know, what brought me here and you know, the how come department. Well, really, I followed the same path as many of you. Same thing. It may be a different time, but it's the same path. And that path has been cleared by a generation of people before us, and we follow that. Now we need to keep the path clear for the generation to come again. So we continue to nurture that and continue our journey. And as far as relationships, you know, I was thinking in my mind when we're talking about, is that your dad? Well, you know what? The word is in our language is "kinagabejigomen." We're all the same. So, ironically, we're all brothers and sisters. Period. We're all in the same boat, and we're doing the same thing together. And what makes you go is that the thing that I bring you every meeting is that watch you don't lose the way you are taught. You keep that well. The Creator gave you that. It's yours. And that's the way you should live, because that is you. And that is what brought me here, those very teachings. They weren't told me that just like that, but however, my mom and dad and others around me knew. An introduction, I met this beautiful, wonderful person from Akwesasne. His name was Tom Porter, a young Tom Porter. I was the MC at the first televised powwow coming out of a northern community. It was televised both in Canada and in the USA, the first one. And so very proud of that, of course. And as a moderator, you know, you had to build up on that. So Tom was our lead elder. And then I asked him how he wanted me to introduce him. And it's just so wonderful, and I'll never forget it. All he told me, introduce me as a man from Akwesasne. That was it. Isn't it wonderful that you introduce yourself that way? I'm a woman from Matachewan. I'm a man from somewhere, you know, just who I am, in very simple terms, because you have to feel good in your own skin. So as a man from Matachewan, I'd like to leave it there. But you know that we're here to share a bit about who we are and how we got there. You know, and it's, for me, of course, it was my mom and dad, of course. And I'm the youngest of 13 children. And so I was born, my mother was in her 40s, and so you know what that means. I was a little guy with a lot of older siblings, and they looked after me. And I always look back and say, that's the reason I'm here. All my siblings, all my family's gone now. I am the last living member of my family. I was looked after really well. No question, they looked after me. For if not, I wouldn't be sitting here. So each piece of work that I did in my life also added to my own resume, added to what I am. In my life, I was chief of my First Nation for 2 terms. I was the executive director of the Friendship Center in North Bay for 15 years. Hey, get this, I worked there for 15 years and I had the same staff for 14 of those years. The same people worked for me. And those same people, I could give you their names, but however, it'd be too long. You'd be putting a watch on me here. But anyway, the same people that worked there, the man that I hired as a janitor became a professor at the university in North Bay. Can you imagine that? A janitor working for me. But you know what we did? We allowed my staff to go to work while they were at work, while they were doing their job. So I would become the court worker sometimes. I would become the receptionist sometimes. We changed positions so somebody could go to school. The other man that was working for me became a professor as well at the university, and he was teaching social work and so on. Every member, and I wish I could go through the name because you'd know who they are. They became very professional people. And so that was a mark of the work that I did, which made me. The other thing that I really feel proud of just recently, more recently, is the invention of a justice center in the Kenora area. It took me 5 years to put that into place, but it's there. And you know what? We also, this very good friend of mine, Justice Gibson, he presides in a court there. We have a courtroom right in the center. And what he's done with the youth court coming in, we sent, rather than send people on probation to do other things, Judge Gibson sentenced them back to school. 116 kids, 2 years ago, we sent back to school. And so the other thing that we did was, in that center, when Justice Gibson would sentence some of these folks, we think about the North, about their home. And some of the sentences that were given didn't fit the crime, not at all. And so that was, then we do the restorative justice, of course, to do that. And currently, I'm involved in another one, and we're going to build another one in Timmins. It's just starting, but we're going to do it. Yesterday, I was just visiting with the Attorney General, and we're on the road to doing that. And we're also on the road to building other justice centers. They're a wonderful place to do that. So that's one of my hallmarks that's happening right now. And so that's what I build on. Now that's, you know, I don't want to brag. I don't want to do that. I don't want to build myself up. I don't want to do that. I'd like to be a Tom Porter, honestly. And other people that I met in my life, like, you know, Ira Benedict, Ernie Benedict, and some of those elders that I worked with from Akwesasne. And I'm going to tell you, Akwesasne is a wonderful place. I like it. I love it. It's a great place. So I enjoy all of that. I'll stop right there because time is limited here. I know that you want to go home. I know that you want to go on with your families and whatnot. But you know, I got to tell you, I really enjoyed it here. I didn't enjoy so much the hotel that we're in, because for an elderly person walking around here, it's a long ways. So it kind of taxed me a little bit to do that. Other than that, perfect. The camaraderie and the things that I've heard and the interaction, perfect. Well done, well done. And actually, I know we keep saying about the staff, but I'll tell you, without the staff at Chiefs of Ontario, we have nothing. They are the most wonderful people that I know in this world, the staff of Chiefs of Ontario. So anyway, so I thank you anyway for allowing me to be here and to carry on with this conversation. And perhaps we'll get to meet personally somewhere down the road, and we'll talk about other matters and see where life takes us. But understand what I say, we're all the same. You know, so thank you very much.
Right on. And you know, you might be talking about your accomplishments and what you've done, but we're not taking it in a way where you're bragging or anything. Like you're doing it in a sincere and humble way. So kudos to you, Barney, and the work that you've done. But anyway, like talking about the Chiefs of Ontario staff, we got to give props to Angela as well, because Angela's been walking with the elders and knowledge keepers, taking such good care of you. So turn around and say hi, Angela. Let's give Angela a big round of applause. Angela is amazing and beautiful and everything in between. Big ups, my friend. Kieran, over to you.
Honestly, to keep it short and simple, I'm here, and like, well, yeah, I'm here because of trauma, but not just that. It's like overcoming trauma, and the life that I live now, the path that I walk, it comes from a place of hurt and grief, and well, I want to say, like, do all Two-Spirit people live that same thing where we have to go outsource people from other areas? Because, you know, my family, we were a very Christian family. No one danced in my family. We didn't carry the ceremonies in my family. But my late great uncle, Garnet Anchiknab, he did. And he spoke the language, and he was, he carried that with him until he died. And I want to live like that. I want to carry those teachings that he did as well. But I guess, long story, not that long because I know we're timed here. When I was a kid, I didn't know what being transgender meant. And full disclosure, I am transgender. I've passed very well, so I very much look like a man. I am a man.
You are a man.
Not just a man, though. I'm a Two-Spirit man.
Two-Spirit man. You're a Two-Spirit man. Yeah.
And growing up, I was put into those boxes. You know, I grew up in school in Thunder Bay, and we had drum nights, or like drum afternoons, not nights, because, well, you don't go to school at night. And I wasn't allowed beside the grandfather drum when all I'd wanted was to drum. But because I was put into that box, you're a girl. You're not allowed to sit there. You're not allowed to touch the drum. And I felt that disconnect from my culture. Sorry. And in the church, you know, my grandfather on my dad's side, he's a pastor. And I remember we went to his church once when we were visiting, and I remember sitting up in the mezzanine and hearing them talk down on homophobia and transphobia and saying that's not God's way. And I grew up knowing God's way, if you believe in that, is God made you for you. God made you all for who you are. I'm not religious or anything, but that part of the church disconnected us from that part of our culture. And my community, growing up there, we were very disconnected from the Two-Spirit teachings. And so I didn't get to go within my community asking about that, where's my place in ceremony? And so I had a lot of internalized homophobia and transphobia that I also came off as very homophobic in high school. And that led to more trauma and more drinking. And I drank. I would show up to school drunk, but my teachers didn't think that that would be me because I seemed like a well enough kid. And it was very heavy. And my sibling, we both kind of helped each other out in a sense that, we're both queer. We're both in the community. And so when they had come out, I started supporting them. I started learning more about this. I met my first transgender friend, and I was like, that's real? Like, is that what I am? Is that what I'm feeling? And so I started doing more research and looking at what the possibilities are. And, my coming out story wasn't a great one. It was my mom literally asking me on a drive from Winnipeg, and she was like, are you sure you're straight? And I was like, nah, I'm not, but and then that's when it came out where I was like, that's why I don't fit in any box in ceremony. And after graduation in high school, I came to ceremony. I was nominated for the Two-Spirit Council for Treaty 3, and I came to ceremony, and, they had told me, there's no right or wrong place for you in ceremony. I could carry water. I could also fire keep, and to me that felt right. And I drummed for the first time 2 summers ago, and that was a home. That was in my community, and, the way that we've grown as people now that we're talking about our identities and pushing the boundaries within the communities and within the church too. It's becoming more and more open. When I was in high school and coming out, I was the only openly transgender person. And 2 of my best friends were like, yeah, me too. And I think once you start speaking about it, and like I'm motivated by you, when you speak about it, when you learn about it, it becomes part of your circle. I'm part of this circle. I've been part of this circle in Chiefs, Ontario since 2022. And the more conversations that I have up here on the stage or within people, the more it's being talked about. And that's not just to say that that's me. That's not just me. That's everyone around. And I think that's really moving. And I also would like to live that peaceful life where I'm not fighting my way through spaces to find my spot. And sometimes I feel like I still do. Like, I still feel like I don't think I could participate in the women's role in that ceremony that we had the other day, but I also didn't feel like I could participate as a man. And I think there's a long way to go with being inclusive and gender inclusive. And some of my family didn't respect me, didn't honor me as a transgender person. They tried to dress me up in dresses. They tried to put me in wigs. They tried to put me in makeup, get my nails done. Obviously, that didn't work, but I would have been a really nice drag queen. And I used to do all those sorts of things, like outside with my family, and then they'd stop bringing me outside, like going jeeping or whatever, and that was fine. I didn't have contact with them for 3 years. I went close contact. I was like, if you don't respect me, that's fine. But I think what really helped me stand up for myself was standing up for others first. You know, my sibling, I would literally fight someone in the streets or in school if someone misgendered them or, you know, called them out. And I probably, yeah, I was ready to fight. I was really scrappy. You know, I was feisty. But I didn't stand up for myself. I was assaulted in high school and I didn't stand up for myself. I almost got beat up and I didn't stand up for myself. I was ready to take it until I started realizing I'm there for me. This is me. I'm my own person. I'm my own guardian, and I can care for myself. And that's when I started walking this good path that I'm on, was when I started realizing I gotta take care of myself and I gotta care about who I am and be open about who I am, not hiding that. How
Kieran, everybody. Wow, Kieran. You know, it makes me think of our elders, and they talk about the ones before us really had to fight hard and smash stigma and push boundaries so we wouldn't have to, at least not fight as hard. And when you think about the boundaries that you've pushed and the stigmas that you're smashing, it's for our little ones who are coming in. And my little one, Tenona, my 10-year-old, is a transgendered male, born a little girl, and last year at 9 years old told us with conviction, I'm a boy. And I felt proud of him. I felt proud as his dad that we raised and created an environment where there was no worry and no concern and no fear. And here, what I'm saying is that came from somewhere. And that love, unconditional love I have for Tenona came from meeting great people like you that taught me to do the right thing. And I'm thankful for you. Thankful for you. I'm a better human being because of it. One more time, everybody. Come on, that's powerful stuff. Man, am I ever feeling good right now. Tracy. Okay. All right. Okay. This is not about me. Let's keep going. It's about my kid a little bit, though, my kid. We have about 20 minutes left, and we got a couple questions. We're just going to roll. We'll see where we end up, okay? Panelists, I guess, Terry, we'll start with you on this one. What are some of the most meaningful supports or sources of strength that helped you feel well and contributed to your wellness?
Creator. I always pray every morning when I get up, and I pray before I go to sleep at night. I got that teaching from my dad when I was growing up. My dad believed in churches and the Bible. My mother was a very traditional woman who only attended ceremonies, but my father taught us to respect all beliefs, no matter what you believe in. You have to respect. When I was looking after my dad for 27 years after my mother passed, when I changed his bedding once a week, I removed his Bible that he had on the left side of his bed. I removed it carefully. He had it open. And when I picked it up, I never closed it. I put it on the dresser while I changed his bed. And I put it back the same way. The same way I picked it up, open. And it was always open to Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd. And above his head, where he slept, was his pipe and his feathers. So that's how he taught us to respect all beliefs, and this is what I carry today. My mother took me to ceremonies when I was a little girl. I used to sit behind her patiently, waiting for the ceremony to end, but I would sit there with her. And I learned medicines. I picked medicines with my mother. I picked medicines with my grandmother. And this is how I live today. I carry a grandmother pipe. I carry medicines. I have a bundle. I use that in a very good way with my traditional counseling. When I do grieving ceremonies, I do naming ceremonies, I do circles. And I believe that our medicines work, and so does our belief, our individual beliefs. And my biggest support right now are my children. They encourage me to keep on going, to keep me living. I want to see my great-great-grandchild. My oldest grandson is 16. And I'm hoping that blessing will come to me. So this is where I get my support from, and my friends. I have an older sister who's 87. She still drives to bingo. And I really appreciate it's people like you that come to these kind of gatherings that provide supports for us. And I really appreciate that. But before I stop, I have a flight to catch.
I understand. We
And
understand. Yeah.
I have to leave now. My daughter's been waving at me for the last 10 minutes. But I really want to thank you for listening to me, and I'll pray for you. Miigwech.
That's Terry, everybody. Let's send some love to Terry right there while Terry exits stage left. I saw somebody going like this, Terry. I thought they were doing this to me. I'm like, holy, we got a lot of time left. Terry, here's a gift for you. I love you, Terry. Yeah. Abraham, I guess you're next. Do you mind? I'm just going to jump around here, okay? You can go anytime you're ready.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Terry. That was really wonderful. And thank you for sharing your stories. And, you know, just to say, Tom Porter's my family. And it was funny you brought him up because one of the tools and really important tools that I use is the power of story. In particular, to like reflect on my life and where I've come from and what I've been through, and to find meaning in it. That it's not just some accident or some just sort of thing that happens, that there's significance in the lives we live. And so, to me, what that looks like is ceremony, is a good mental health therapist, is medication, is a community of people that love and support me, that check on me and take care of me, you know, because as a person that lives with some intense depression and anxiety, it can sometimes be crippling. And I don't always get to decide that this is the day I get out of bed, or this is the day that like I can do something. And it's been quite a while since, you know, I got hit with a really bad wave, but, you know, I always have this commitment to keep moving, to keep healing, to find meaning in those moments when my body just stops and asks for rest, asks for me to address something, whether that's somebody visiting me, asking me for food, or that's something like that I inherited from my family, you know, and the various ways that I have specifically sought to break these in my life. You know, the shame around the language was one of the big ones that I really went after, and the grief that came with that, and so many different iterations. You know, there was this part of my family that was, if you can speak English really well, then you'll be safe. And you know what? It robbed me of my language. And I continue to try and work and get over that and figure out ways to learn that work with my busy schedule. And a big part of that came back to the story I was weaving and understanding. you know, to heal that part of myself, to heal that in my mother, to heal that in my grandmother, and then these lines and lines of generations that were taught that it wasn't okay to be you, to be us, to be Ungwehue, to speak our languages, to draw on our cultures, that these were something that we were supposed to leave behind to be part of modern society, or whatever that means. And so there are so many factors that contribute to why I feel certain ways in certain circumstances, and why trauma can be ignited in my body and can stop me from moving forward on certain things. And rather than being mad at myself that I couldn't get it done, that I couldn't meet this colonial timeline of accomplishment or getting things done, it's okay. Because my spirits, my guides, who I am, my ancestors told me it's time to learn this lesson. And I think that that's really important to me, but that I'm constantly interested in unpacking what that does and how that impacted me, so I can share that with my family. Because I think if we're really truly going to break cycles of intergenerational trauma within ourselves, within our communities, it's not just for us. Because when you heal yourself, you're healing so many people around you. Because they see your example, there's a part of them that they can find kindness for themselves, for surviving, regardless of what that survival looked like for them at that time. And there's a lot of understanding that comes with that. And challenging these weird ideas that you've inherited, you know. And this, I'll wrap up with this, but, you know, something that I really came after in these last couple of years is, you know, working hard is not going to exhume us from the violence we experience from this system. You are not going to work your way out of oppression. And that was a really hard lesson I had to learn, because I was pushing my body so hard, and the burnout was so intense. And to remove myself from that and just being kind and gentle through that process, that I am here for more than just working. My life is more than just the things I can accomplish, the things I can write and whatever. Because we have such important relationships with each other, and we take care of each other across time, for our ancestors to future generations. There is meaning that we are here. And so I'm just always drawn to that as a tool to be a part of this ongoing cycle of making sure that our communities can heal, and that I am a part of that larger network, and that resonates out, and that there's others people's healing that resonated towards me and helped me. So, yawa.
Abraham. Yawa Abraham. We got little more than 5 minutes here remaining. Barney, over to you about supports and
Yeah.
sources of strength.
What makes me feel good? Boy, I'm going to tell you. Sitting in front of the machine at the casino, watching the numbers come up, and all of a sudden, jackpot. Yee!
Let's move
Boy,
over to
that
Kieran.
feels so good. But actually, what makes me feel really fine, I think, is out in the boat, fishing rod in my hand, and just putting around and catching fish. That is just the ultimate for me, to be out there doing that. The other thing, as strange as it might seem, you know, Tracy, I've gotten to know the staff at KU so well over a number of years, including yourself, yes, that I just feel good when I'm amongst your staff and yourself. It's such a great place. Those people are just super intelligent people doing a wonderful piece of work, and I really admire that. So that's where I feel good. And you know what? Every time I go someplace, her staff, or the staff at KU, see me coming and maybe getting a meal or doing something, and right away they want to know if they can help me. Just immediately, without me saying a word, and that's a real feel-good situation. The other thing that I really feel well about is, you know what, when we talked about it a little bit at this conference, but owning my own home. I shall never, ever forget the first time that I took a shower in my own house, turning on my own. There's just a feeling in that that's just unforgettable. And then waking up in the morning and sending your kids to school. That is just such a fond memory, a real feel-good, and one that probably will never forget. Sending my kids to minor hockey and being a coach there. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful feeling. And today, the other feeling that I have that, you know, it's just great being with the elders, being with my colleagues, the knowledge keepers. You know, there's a little lady there that was a former judge. God, I can't remember names, but anyway, she's sitting with us, and she tells us stories about what she went through as a sitting judge, about having to sort out guilt or not guilty, you know, that sort of a thing, and to be with those kinds of people and with the other knowledge keepers around them, and I think being with Terry and I have worked together now for a number of years, just a number of years, and what we do, and some of you watched us operate at the meetings, and what she does, because we all have our strengths, and so what happens is that I usually do the political part, doing the summaries, and then Terry will do the prayer, and the meeting is open. And we've been doing that for a long while in unison, and I really love that. She's a great person, and I was glad that you gave her a good send-off, because she really deserves it. She's a wonderful, wonderful lady. And so I was fortunate enough to know her husband as well. And then Terry and I have performed many ceremonies when things have gone wrong here and there. And you know about that, some things that need help. So we've done that. So I do that together with Terry and the other knowledge keepers at Anishinaabe Sea territory. So I really love doing that, and that's one of my favorite things. But, you know, being a senior, sitting at home in my rocking chair, I'm sorry, but it really feels good. It just really feels great, you know? And somebody bringing me a cup of tea, nothing could be finer. That's the ultimate, you know? But, you know, above all else, I think, I don't know why it is, but I keep looking at my house and owning it. It's mine, you know? And everything in my house, pretty much I built. I did it. We bought a house at a cheap rate, and I rebuilt it. And it feels so good. And I just hope that when we talk about housing here a while ago, that these kinds of things can catch on with our people, and that they too can have a home that they can be really proud of and to live in and say, this is mine. This is mine. And there's a lot of other things that we can think about being yours, that is part of us. But you know, we have work to do. We have work to do. And I'll leave you with this, and it's a story that I pass on from time to time, and it's about my sister and I, Laura. She's gone now, but you know, what a wonderful lady. You would have loved her. You would have just loved her and cherished her. She's just that kind of person. Anyway, we're back in the bush and we're having a shore lunch, cooking fish. And so it's kind of a damp day. And so Laura says, hey, Barney, you make the fire and I'll cook the fish. Because we have a bunch of people, but we had about 3 boats, canoes of people. So we start. So he said, you go get the wood and I'll cook the fish. So I went into the bush and I start getting the wood, you know. And remember, it's a kind of a damp day, so I'm trying to get the best pieces of wood that I could get. Because what Laura does in cooking her fish, she likes small sticks in the fire, and she likes to put those sticks in there accordingly to keep the heat in the same place so the fish cook evenly. She was a great cook, and that's what she did. So I went and got the sticks, the wood. I come back and I piled them there, and she started making her fire. But the wood was damp, and the fire didn't burn right. And my sister got upset. Very seldom did she would get upset. And she looked at me and she scolded me. and she really scolded me pretty hard about not doing the right thing. And the last words that I remember her saying at that time was, and she pointed her finger at me and she says, "You do your job and I'll do mine." I will never forget that. The reason I'm bringing you that is because we're in this together. And I will do my job, you do your job. And I'm looking at Tracy trying to run the shop at Koo and looking at her staff and saying, look at, and Tracy does her best to get things all straightened out. And I can just see in her mind, you do your job, I'll do mine, and works together. That's what has to happen. It's a family thing. And I'll leave you with that because we are a family. And if each one of us do our job according to what we have to do, then things work out really well. But if we don't listen to one another, we have a breakdown. And so, anyway, that's just one story. I have a dozen others that I share with people. And maybe one day, Tracy, we can have a specific meeting with elders, period, that would come and give you their life story and have workshops with elders in each of the places and learn that way to bring it together. Maybe one day we can do that, so we can look forward to that. Anyway, quite honestly, I just love being alive, period. And I want to thank you very much for that. Miigwech.
Barney Miigwech. I don't believe that you have a dozen stories to share. I just don't believe that. It's probably 100 dozen, to be honest with you. Kieran, we're at time, but you're going to answer this question because your voice is important and you matter. Sources of strength. Talk to me.
I want to thank my mom, my dad. Just kidding. I think Barney is my biggest source of strength right now. But I too much like to just look at my house and enjoy it. And, that I think is my favorite part of my day is just to be home and enjoy my mortgage and be in debt. But I wanted to share a quick story. Won't take up too much time.
Yep.
But Barney mentioned about, you never forget that first shower in your house that you just bought. I won't forget mine. Ran the shower upstairs on the top floor, and then I go downstairs in the living room. There's a puddle on the floor. I'm like, what's this? Oh, that's wet. Take off my socks, thinking it was my dog. And then the next day it happens again. I'm like, what's... So I go change the light in the ceiling fan in my living room. And in the bowl of the light fixture, there's water. And I bought this house off of a plumber. And I think that was a very memorable moment. It was a $300 fix, but it's still my house, But I think my sources of strength come from hearing stories. I'm a very much, if anyone knows me well enough, I have a podcast and it's based on storytelling. And growing up, my kokum would share stories with us all the time, and she still does. And so that idea came when my partner had asked me to read her a bedtime story, and I did. It was from the book called the Mishomis book or something. And I read her one of our creator stories on voice messages, recording like this, and we were so far from each other. And we had that idea to record podcasts. So season 2 is coming out now, just so you know, When the Frogs Sleep. And you can find us on any platform with a podcast. And so my family, my parents, more specifically my mom, has always been my greatest supporter. She will educate everyone. She's an educator herself. my Kokoman Papa, my sibling, ceremonies. So I wrote down all my sources of support so that I could, read it like I was getting a nomination for something. My late ancestors, hunting. I'm being out in the water too, going on, putting around on a boat. I don't have a boat, but I will soon. And then being out in the bush, I could drive 10 minutes and I'm out in the bush, and I take my dog out for a run, out for a walk. Going hunting in the fall. This year I'm hoping to get a moose again. Partridge hunting is the best. I was talking to some people outside in the trade show room, and I think they're with ISK or something, and they were talking to me about my tattoos that I have. And we were just talking about like hunting partridge and everything. Then weird names came up or something, and then they said something about Reginald, and I was like, my name's Reginald. And they seriously thought I was so serious, and they were just laughing at the name. And I was like, no, I'm just kidding. And they started laughing immediately because I just looked so serious, like, my name's Reginald. No, my great-grandfather's name is Reginald. So they might call me Reggie. So if you'd go speak with them and ask about Reggie, they're going to talk about my tattoos and who did my tattoos. They don't actually know my real name. But yeah, my sources of strength are people in this room, like Barney said, Tracy, the leaders of this organization and the people around me, and the leaders of other organizations and former directors, allowing me to do the work that I do and be passionate and be there for the communities. That's my people. Mm.
It's been a tradition over the last couple of panels that I step off the stage and we're all going to celebrate you and stand up and send some love. Everybody, that concludes our wonderful panel. Everybody, will you please join me in giving our incredible panel a massive round of applause? There it is!
That's all you.
We have some gifts, panel. You got some cool toys. Very cool. You went to the C&E? How was it? Was it madness? Lots of people? Yeah, yeah. My kids are going there tonight. All right. Cool. Could we get those taken off too, please? Thank you, Darian. You're the best. Chiefs of Ontario, if there's anything I need to say, any draws that I need to draw, let me know. That'd be wonderful. Excellent. Wonderful. Okay. Great. Here comes Toby. Toby from Aquasauce. I saw you laughing at the big heads there. I thought you were laughing really hard at that, Toby. I'm going to get off the stage. We'll do it down there. We're good. Okay. Holy. Oh, okay. Okay, great. All right, passports. Okay. You were just waiting. Okay. Okay. All right, so we have some prizes. Here we go. Passports, passports, passports. Okay. All right. Tell me when to stop. Tell me when to stop. Okay. Charlene Corbier. Right on. Hey, Charlene. Holy, they're heavy. Toby made it look really light, but it's really heavy. Right on, Charlene. Okay, are you ready? We can do it again now. I'm shuffling, I'm shuffling, I'm shuffling. Oh, I got to hold on. Okay, let me shuffle one more time here. Oh. Who's had a good conference? Yeah. Who's had a good conference? Right on, man. Okay. Carol Wesley Green. Right? Of course you got to be here. Why are you saying that? Because you're here. Okay. Okay. Good job, guys. Laura Caldwell. There's Laurel right there. Good job. I'm going to meet you halfway, Laura. Full service. I'm a full service kind of guy. There you go. Right on. That's a nice one. Thanks, Toby. Wow. Okay, this for the surveys. Oh, man, this is even heavier. Yvonne Lafreniere. Right over here. Holy. You stop, you do like a 2-minute survey, you win a cool prize, right? Right on. Oh, there's a pin in there? There's a pin in there. Okay. All right. Ontario Regional Chief, everybody. Gonna say a few words. Let's hear it for our incredible Regional Chief! Representing the most incredible staff anywhere in the country. Holy Tracy, we're awesome, your team. Let's give it up for Tracy, everybody. Come on, Tracy Antone. Right over here. I love you, Tracy. I love your team. Ontario Regional Chief, take it away.
You know, not only do we have the most incredible team, we have the most incredible region across Turtle Island. I always remind the AFN how cool and awesome Ontario is, so how very diverse we are, and how much there's so much great things happening in this region. And I only save it for government. I know in my opening remarks I said the best regional chief. I only tell that to government, so that way they remember that. And the only reason that is because of each and every one of you and the hard work that you do for our nations every day, our leadership, the folks that are supporting our communities, the 133 First Nations across this region, whether they be in community or outside of community. I know this is something that we've continuously talked about in the program delivery that we do, and this is extremely important to me. And so I want to say, miigwech to all of you for the last 3 days. It's been really great. Truly a real great opportunity to share perspectives, feed into some of the work that we're doing, but also knowledge sharing. I know that, in the times that we have now is just, there's so much challenges. There's so many challenges that we face in our communities, in our regions, in our daily lives, but there's a lot of great things happening. And no matter where I go, whether it be with government or community, I talk about that as well, the opportunities that exist. And I know in some of the different sectors we have, it does get grim. It does sometimes get grim to think about what those opportunities are. But it's important that we share with each other, come together like this beautiful 3 days that we've had here to be able to energize, to share amongst each other, to know that there's so much love in the room, and there's so much good work happening for that we do, whether it be in the program delivery at the political level. My leadership council and our team at the Chiefs of Ontario, such a great team supporting our 133 First Nations and the most dynamic leaders that we have across 133 chiefs with their chiefs and councils, but most importantly, those community members on the ground. And that's why we do this work day in and day out. You know, I wanted to reflect upon a couple things. Not only is it, when I get up here to speak, I'm really happy when I get to speak at the beginning, because not everybody's in the room, so it's not a full room. And I really like speaking at the end, because the room is not full either, so that's always a great thing. Believe it or not, when I started into politics, I was actually scared to speak in front of people. And it was something that over time I've grown into. I still do get really nervous. And earlier this week, when I spoke in front of the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, people kept asking me, saying, "Oh, what are you going to talk about? What are you going to talk about?" Finally, I said, "I don't talk about it because I don't think about it until the point that I actually get on the stage and start talking about it." I said, "Because you're giving me anxiety when I have to start thinking about what I'm actually going to talk about tomorrow," right? And that's because really, you know, I speak from here, and I speak from experience, and I speak from, you know, the things that we are actually doing in community. And being a political leader, you know, I sometimes don't like reading from paper on it, because we see, whether it be good or bad, you know, many folks that read things that, you know, it's just words, just a paper that the government is telling us how it's going to be and why it's going to be like that, you know, and that's not acceptable, you know, for political leadership to do that. And so, not knocking down anybody that speaks from speeches, but definitely is something that you know, I take from experience to come up here and ramble away. Sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it don't. But you know, one of the things that I just wanted to reflect upon was our great last panel that we had. You know, and the strength that they have and the wisdom that they've shared. So much diversity in that presentation, but there's so much in that we can all relate to. You know, and our source of strength. You know, and it's not only Stan that comes in this room and gives us a source of strength to do the work that we do, but it's each and every one of you. Whether it be our experience or the things that we've learned, our determination, but it's also about, at the end of the day, is about our communities and our children. And about ensuring that the legacies, the systems, the services, our nations, our identity, our jurisdiction and sovereignty continue to be there for our little ones that don't have a voice, for the ones that are going to be coming forward. And I know there's many program area, many gaps that exist. As I mentioned in my opening comments about Jordan's principle, we're working hard to find a solution to that, working hard for an Ontario regional approach. Because what works in other regions doesn't work in this region. Because what works in the north in our region and central in our region doesn't work in the south in our own region. And it's our job to make sure that we're pushing that forward. There's a number of other areas, you know, the non-insured health benefits program, that's a program that's, you know, works partially at best of days, especially having so many northern or remote communities and relying upon that program to get access, you know, so that the other regions don't deal with that. Our education system, another area that needs to. We'll continue to push upon the governments to improve that. You know, I uplift each and every one of you that serve our people every day. When I meet with our leadership, I always acknowledge them. Because not too long ago, a year and a half ago, I was leading the community of Akwesasne. And I did that for 9 years. And I know that every day in community can be difficult. And the issues that come to our frontline workers, the issues that come to our leadership are great. But it's opportunities like today, over the last 3 days, in sharing our experience, our best practices, but also our challenges. I know there's been a lot of heaviness in this room, in our other rooms as well. But it's the strength of all of us together, the unity that we bring. And that unity will continue to advance us in our nations, our identity. That's what makes us distinct, our languages, our culture. That is something that I continuously remind government. We're not the same. We're not the same as everybody else in this province. We're not the same as everybody across coast to coast. Ontario, our First Nations in this region are distinct, and we're distinct amongst ourselves. And so as we wrap up today, you know, I do want to give a big shout out again to our staff at the Chiefs of Ontario who've been working really hard to put this together. Our second conference, growing bigger. As you can see, we're in a bigger facility here. We have a great team, a great senior team that has worked hard to bring us together. And as we close out today, I do want to acknowledge Stan, such a great guy. Remember Stan when he didn't have all of this great technology to support it, and he didn't walk around. In fact, I think he still had a cord on his microphone, you know. He could only go so far, screaming from the microphone because there was attached to a cord. Now he's bouncing around the room. Anybody getting married or wants to have a fancy graduation party, he's available for that too as well. So he's a great guy. But really, laughter is medicine. I always try, I go into forums, I always try to bring some humor to it, or humility, right? Because it does sometimes get stuffy in a room with government folks. Most of them are non-Indigenous. They're just there for one reason, right? I have to remind them. But I know that in this room we've had lots of good laughs, and that is something that us as First Nations people, as Haudenosaunee, as Anishinaabe people, we always rely on that. And laughter is good medicine, and that, that gets us through. And I know that in my leadership, in difficult times, sometimes it's all I've got left, that and our families. So on behalf of myself, our leadership council, and everybody at the Chiefs of Ontario, Yama Goa for the last 3 days, and we look forward to hosting you again next year. So, Yama.
Ontario Regional Chief. That's a good man right there, huh? Right on, right there. Somebody left a Remarkable tablet somewhere around. It's called Remarkable because that's the brand, I guess. So it's right here. So a Remarkable tablet, there it is. It's going to be right here on the podium, the stage. It was a year ago where I came downtown and I met with some of the senior managers, Chiefs of Ontario, and I was telling them about something that I'm getting into with a team that had decades and decades and decades of support. I made a lot of promises that day. And here we are, after many, many events together, over a short period of time. There's no greater honor as an organization, as a company, Shapeshifter Events, to have the trust of Chiefs of Ontario. I am a member of this region, Moose Cree First Nation, band number 1763. And we are honored to support ceremony. We are honored to amplify the stories that are being taken home, that are creating substance of change within this region. We are so honored to have your support and your trust, and we look forward to other opportunities to work with you, to work with Regional Chief, to work with the Chiefs and our incredible members. We are so honored to work with you. Thank you so much for your support and for your trust. Everybody, once again, Chiefs of Ontario, aren't they awesome? So on behalf of Jacob and Nate, who had to leave a little early, on behalf of Keisha, Austin, Cole, Matt, Darian, and Chris, once again, we thank you. And once again, we are honored to work with you. My children were here, Maya and Tenona, and my gorgeous wife. I am way out of my league. I know that. But I'm really, really honored to be able to bring them with me, because this week, being with them, I felt like I was off being with my family and being with my extended family, with all of you. So I felt like this is just a wonderful, safe, loving space. So with that being said, I'd like to invite my uncle, Dave, up here, David Root, to do our closing. And I'd like Manitou Makwa singers to stand by for a closing song. Do you feel the power back there, Crystal? It's a long walk, eh, David? Yeah, David and our incredible elder Lori have been taking care of us, smudging the room. So we're thankful for you, Lori. We're thankful for you, David. And of course, Manitou Makwa's up next. Let's have a warm welcome for another great man, David Root, right here. Oh.
I'm just thinking where I should start. Kiwe na gabo na netres na kas makwa gen do them. Skons gening gain danji sagi. Chimigwets kana we gabajat. Mukwen manan mi ge gib kwenes genan gena game and pi. Mi go geni kebe na abajit tonan gena nisnabe mon. Miguel o gawi da mga koyan, binoji geo yan, kawi chuneto swanyo nisnabe mun. Miguel e awiyan nisnabe. Panangi we the magoyo meojaban. So I'm just saying that don't forget who you are. My grandparents and parents had said that, and aunties and uncles, and use your language. And that's who you are, is that within our language. So it's even with that, I'd like to acknowledge the territory we're in of the Mississauga, the Wendat, and the Anishinaabe, and the Haudenosaunee, and Abraham, for the Chiefs of Ontario as well. So it's I'm quite honored when they asked me to come and to be one of the elders. And I thank the elders that were here, but I kind of sat way in the back myself, so I'm not one of those guys that like to be out front. I like to hide in the back. But that's like how you used to ride in the bus. You got to be riding at the back seat. When I think about that, it's like that Jingus. I was Jingus, that little bad boy, growing up myself. I always used to like to play and tease. I used to be a real good runner, fast runner, and when I teased, they would chase me. Couldn't catch me though. So the journey has been good. It's been good, and it's like the panel that spoke here today was. It's a long road. It's where we come from. And then Chinamachi again, that how you grow into that path, and how one of the ones spoke about that didn't want to be, couldn't be something. And I was that myself. And it wasn't, I turned my life around, it was like 20 years ago. Like 20 years ago in 2004. And drug and alcohol free, you know. That was part of that journey. But I used to look at my sister's photos, graduation. I said I wanted to do that. I wanted to experience that. I don't know what that's like. So in 2007, I was offered a program, social service work program, to get into and to discover a little bit more of my healing journey. And that healing journey never stops. So I thank this wellness conference for that, and engaging with other sources that are here, resources. Because that's that road you get on. Once you get on that road, and then start finding who you are, and working that way. So I say miigwech to that journey I've been on, and still stay on that road, and enjoying life in a different manner. And it's been really good. And so I say miigwech to all the ones that did come, but I know that I was Zegas at first to come up here. I was a little scared, and I said, "Oh, geez, all these people again." What am I going to say? But it was a good week. Lots of food again. Lots of great food. Never shortage of food. And it's like, oh my. Then somebody calls you up and they say, "Hey, let's go out for supper now." You just finished eating it. So it's been good. It's been really good. Good seeing a lot of new faces, a lot of different communities, and we all have that common goal, or the common things that are going on within our organizations or our communities where we come from, and looking to do that wellness as well as we can, and working together. One of the things I was hearing this week was that some of us work in silos, and it's like we got to kind of break our silos and work together within the community. But I also like to thank the staff here, the organization, the Chiefs of Ontario, and to Tracy. Finally got to know who Tracy was, just hearing the texts or emails. So, yeah, I'm starting to understand who the part of the organizations that are here also. I worked with the IFN as well, so I say miigwech to all these organizations that put these on and working together. So I say miigwech to all of that. And I always was the grandmother that was speaking, talking about that prayer in the morning. It's not a whole lot of words. It's just you're saying your miigwechs to Creator, miigwechs to grandfathers and the grandmothers that watch over us every day, guide us to where we go. So I say miigwech to them. Miigwech can go geo kashimi. When it's naga the wind is in go gagin with me go gage naga the wind is in gagi keen. When it gonna gage in the scabi and gabin jabang go gagin with or the end dying. Me go gay with the benogia with the bobby wat gay non chinan the moat gay in the scabi and chawap magua. Me go gay non when it gonna gay. Chinnet the gushnik in the scabi cogigin wa. Chimmy West Monday ke kebe yain gagin with, must saying gaba monfi. Me gwetch ganageo northern gimme the gonang manda nesewen. When a ganagate and log the wind mungio nesewen. Me go geo nebi. The Makwend mangio nebi. Me go geo emudo no watio, quaokio nebi. Bidin Jabang go gagin with the Jamaica mangio. Me go eo squateco again on when it's Mudo long yo squate, go ye, Chanaga the wind the sun yo squate, babundo, go gagin, kinemit. So me gwetch again on. I just thanked those 4 directions of, and that we get home safely. Our children are there waiting for us. For some of us that had to leave our little ones behind, and so I say miigwech, and I still struggle with being an elder. I look at myself as a shkabe was a helper, and a helper to Creator. I don't want to get gray too fast. There's time for that. So I say miigwech again to the organization, to everybody, and Angela as well, that calls me up and says, could you come? So I thank her for that also. So I say miigwech to all the Gimayak, all the chiefs that puts forward for some of us to come here for the wellness. So it's been a good week, very good last few days. So I say miigwech to all of you. Miigwech to Stan for livening us up. He always does a good job when he does that. So I say miigwech to him. So miigwech to your family as well. Miigwech, 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 miigwech. You can all go home now.
How miigwech, David Root, Manitomakwa Singers, you're up. I feel like a POW announcer there for a second. Let's welcome Manitomakwa, guys, right here. Come on. We love them so much. It's so cute.
Miigwech Wendam, Dakit, Bungi, Anishinabem. I try to speak a little bit of Anishinaabe as much as I can. I'm in the Possibly Altagut program through Fanshawe College right now. It's placing out of Chippewa, the Thames. My mom and my sister went through the program. So when I was listening to the prayer or Anishinaabe the last couple days, I'm understanding the system, Nipana, and I'm trying to use it as much as I can with my nieces and nephews because that's transference of knowledge. a lot of the songs that we sing are in what we call vocables. They're powwow songs. And I'm trying to use Anishinaabe when we create songs because it's important. But the song that we're going to sing is, my dad called it Coming Out Fighting, but I don't think that's the proper way to describe it or explain it. And, hey,
Yes.
stop, man, you're freaking me out.
I'm just
But how I understand this song and the explanation of, well, stretch back here, man.
He wants to lay on that
I
thing.
know. But how I understand this song is it's not necessarily about fighting. It's about using that strength that we have in ourselves as communities, as interconnected communities. Because I know in one way, shape, or form, as Anishinaabe, Ongwehoe, Nehia people, we're all connected in some way, and we all know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. And we're all, as Anishinaabe, Ongwehoe, Nehia people, we all know, you know somebody from somewhere. And this song is, I think, how I understand it, is showing that interconnectedness, that we have a responsibility to ourselves, our communities, our nations, ourselves, and our future generations. So take this song in whatever way that you feel you need to take it. The song is going to send you home so that you can continue with strength back into your communities to fight for what you need to fight for, or fight against those systems, but help our communities in a loving, kind, empathetic way. So, miigwech.
What is this song?
You'll know it. Also, I apologize. It's really cold in here. My drum's really flat, and I'm kind of self-conscious about it. So, forgive me.
Same here.
Want to thank all of you for coming out, all of our incredible vendors, our sponsors, our supporters, all of you, our technicians and practitioners, all of our presenters and speakers, the incredible venue, our amazing Doug back there, our driver, who's awesome. I love you, Doug. And don't forget to say hi and bye to Michelle Young-Crook, our incredible event manager, who's been just wonderful. Don't forget to say see you later to somebody on the way out. Maybe a high five or something. See you later, everybody. There are no goodbyes in the language, so I'll say, wache, masweg. Kananaskamitin. We'll see you soon.